The diplomatic ship appeared at the edge of the solar system without warning. It was beautiful in a way that human ships were not. Where human vessels were built like weapons wrapped in armor, this alien craft looked like art. Smooth curves of silver metal caught the light of distant stars. It moved through space with grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Captain Sarah Volkov watched it from her command chair aboard the UNS Cerberus. Her ship hung invisible in the dark, every stealth system running at maximum. Not a single photon of light escaped the Cerberus, not a whisper of heat. To every sensor in the solar system, the massive Dreadnought simply did not exist. "Captain, the aliens are broadcasting on all frequencies," her communications officer said. "They're asking for peaceful contact with Earth's leaders." Sarah nodded slowly. 2.5 kilometers of warship surrounded her, hidden in the black. The Cerberus was humanity's secret, Earth's ace in the hole. While the rest of the fleet showed itself proudly, the stealth dreadnoughts waited and watched. "Monitor everything," she ordered. "I want to know what they eat for breakfast before this is over." Down on Earth, the response was different. Ambassador David Chen stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall and felt history pressing down on him. Humanity's first contact with alien life. Everything they said and did in the next few days would shape the future of their species. "We accept your invitation," he transmitted to the alien vessel. "Welcome to our solar system." The response came quickly. The voice was translated by their computers, sounding almost human. Almost, but not quite. There was something musical about it, like listening to someone sing instead of speak. "We are the Zenthari Accord. We represent 7 civilized species. We come in peace and friendship to welcome humanity to the wider galaxy." Chen felt his heart race. 7 species, a whole federation of aliens. Earth was not alone. They had never been alone. 3 days later, Chen stood aboard the Zenthari flagship. The ship was called Harmonious Tide, and it lived up to its name. Everything inside was designed for beauty and comfort. Soft lights glowed from walls that seemed to be made of crystal. The air smelled like flowers Chen had never encountered. The Zenthari themselves were tall and thin, with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. They had 4 arms and eyes that were too large for their faces, but they smiled, and their smiles seemed genuine. "Your species is young," said High Diplomat Ven, the leader of the Zenthari delegation. "But we see great potential. Many young species need guidance as they enter galactic society." Chen felt something cold touch his spine. Guidance. That word carried weight he did not like. "We appreciate your welcome," he said carefully. "But humanity values its independence. We've learned to stand on our own." Ven's smile did not change. Of course. But the galaxy can be dangerous for those who stand alone. The Zenthari Accord offers protection to promising species, safety, security, a place in our great family. Back on the Cerberus, Sarah listened to every word through the quantum link. Her executive officer, Commander James Park, stood beside her command chair. "They sound friendly enough," Park said. "Too friendly," Sarah replied. "Run a background analysis. I want to know everything about this accord and their protected species." The results came back 6 hours later. Park's face was pale when he brought them to her. "Captain, you need to see this. The protected species in the Accord have no independent military. No foreign policy. The Zenthari control everything for them. They call it protection, but it looks more like slavery," Sarah finished. "Very polite slavery." She pulled up the data on her screens. 7 species in the Accord. 2 were Zenthari. 5 were protected. Those 5 species had given up their weapons, their colonies, their freedom to make their own choices. In exchange, the Zenthari gave them technology and peace. "They assess every new species," Park continued. "If the species is peaceful and weak, they offer protection. If the species is dangerous, they either destroy them or treat them as equals. There's no middle ground." Sarah felt her jaw tighten. "They think we're weak. They've only seen our patrol ships and colony vessels. They don't know about the defense fleet. They don't know about us. What do we do, Captain? We wait, we watch, and we make damn sure they don't get to decide humanity's future for us." The negotiations continued for another week. Chen and his team worked around the clock, trying to understand the Zenthari offer. More alien ships arrived each day. The Zenthari said they were support vessels, diplomatic staff, cultural exchanges. Sarah knew better. Her sensors showed her the truth. These were warships. Small ones maybe, but armed and ready. They were taking positions around Earth's outer colonies, mapping human defenses, counting human ships. They were preparing for something. On the 8th day, Ven made his offer official. Join the Accord as a protected species. We will shield you from the dangers of the galaxy, guide your development, keep you safe. Chen looked at the alien diplomat for a long moment. And if we refuse? Ven's smile finally faded. Then you choose a difficult path. A lonely path. The galaxy is not kind to those who stand alone. Economic isolation, perhaps worse. That sounds like a threat. That sounds like reality, Ven replied. We have seen your fleet, Ambassador Chen, 30 patrol ships, mining vessels, colony transports. You are brave, but bravery does not stop missiles. Accept our protection. It is the logical choice. Chen felt his blood turn to ice. This was not friendship. This was conquest wrapped in pretty words. I need to consult with Earth, he said. Of course. You have 12 hours to decide. Back on the Cerberus, Sarah received her orders. 4 words that changed everything. Maintain stealth. Prepare for action. The waiting was over. The 12 hours passed like years. Ambassador Chen sat in his temporary quarters aboard Earth's diplomatic vessel, the Olive Branch. His team worked frantically, pulling together every piece of information they could find about the Zenthari Accord. What they discovered made Chen's stomach turn. Lieutenant Sarah Kim burst into his office without knocking. Sir, you need to see this. We cracked some of their old data transmissions. The protected species didn't volunteer. They were forced. She threw a holographic display onto his desk. Chen watched as the story unfolded. A species called the Ventar had refused protection 50 years ago. The Zenthari had blockaded their worlds, cut off their trade, destroyed their satellites. Within 6 months, the Ventar had surrendered. They had given up everything to survive. There are 4 other stories just like this, Kim said. Every protected species was bullied into submission. The Zenthari don't offer protection. They demand it. Chen stood up. His hands were shaking. Get me a secure line to Earth Command now. On the Cerberus, Captain Sarah Volkov was already 10 steps ahead. Her tactical officer had been monitoring Zenthari ship movements for days. Now she called Sarah to the holographic display in the center of the bridge. Captain, look at this. 16 more Zenthari warships entered the system in the last 6 hours. They're taking up blockade positions around Mars, Europa, and Titan, our main colonies. Sarah studied the display. Red dots marking enemy ships, blue dots showing human vessels. The blues were vastly outnumbered. They're not here for diplomacy anymore, Commander Park said quietly. They're here to intimidate us into surrender. Sarah's jaw clenched. How many of our patrol ships do they think we have? Based on their scan patterns, maybe 30 or 40. They haven't detected anything hidden. They think they've seen our entire fleet. A cold smile crossed Sarah's face. Then they're in for a surprise. What's our stealth status? Perfect, Captain. We're a ghost. Even if they flew right past us, they wouldn't know we're here. Good. Keep it that way. On Earth, the government was in chaos. President Martinez sat in the war room, surrounded by military advisors and political leaders. Everyone was talking at once. We can't fight them. They have more ships. We can't surrender. We'll lose everything. Maybe protection isn't so bad. We get their technology, peace, safety, at the cost of our freedom. General Hammond slammed his fist on the table. The room fell silent. Everyone shut up and listen. The Zenthari think we're weak because we've only shown them our patrol fleet. They haven't seen the real defense network. They don't know about the stealth fleet. They don't know about the Dreadnoughts. President Martinez leaned forward. How long can we keep that secret? As long as we need to. But ma'am, if it comes to war, we need to understand something. We've built our entire defense strategy on the assumption that first contact might not be friendly. We've prepared for this. Prepared to fight an advanced alien civilization? Hammond smiled grimly. Ma'am, they might be advanced, but they've never fought humans before. That's their mistake. Back on the Olive Branch, Ambassador Chen received his orders. Earth would not surrender. They would negotiate for more time, but they would not give up their freedom. Chen returned to the harmonious tide with his head held high. Ven waited for him in the same beautiful chamber as before, but now the beauty felt like a trap. Have you made your decision? Ven asked. We need more time. This is too important to rush. Give us 30 days to— No. The single word cut through the air like a blade. The time for discussion is over, Ven continued. His voice had lost all its musical quality. Now it was cold, hard. You will accept our protection immediately, or you will face the consequences of your pride. Is that a threat? It is reality, Ambassador. I am authorized to inform you that Earth's colonies are now under a protective quarantine. No ships will enter or leave human space without Xanthari approval. This is for your own safety. Chen felt his blood boil. You're blockading us. We are protecting you from making a terrible mistake. We don't want your protection. Ven stood up. All four of his arms spread wide. What you want is irrelevant. You are children playing with fire. We will save you from yourselves. Chen opened his mouth to respond, but his communicator buzzed urgently. It was Kim. Sir, you need to get back to the olive branch now. The Xanthari just disabled our engines. We're dead in space. Chen stared at Ven. The alien diplomat's face showed no emotion. You're prisoners, Chen said slowly. You are protected. Ven corrected. There is a difference. Chen turned and walked out. His security team surrounded him as they rushed back to the olive branch. Behind them, Xanthari guards followed. Not threatening, but present. Watching. When they reached the olive branch, Chen found his worst fears confirmed. The ship was dead. No power to engines. No power to weapons. They had done it without firing a shot. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse, his engineer said. Surgical, precise, designed to cripple without killing. Get me a message to Earth, Chen ordered. Tell them. Communications are jammed, Kim interrupted. We can't transmit anything. Chen felt cold fear settle into his bones. They were alone. Cut off, helpless. The Xanthari had made their move. On the Cerberus, Sarah watched it all happen. She saw the olive branch go dark. She saw Xanthari warships move into position around every human colony. She saw the blockade snap shut like a trap. Captain, Park said urgently, we're receiving distress calls from the mining station near Jupiter. A human ship is trying to run the blockade. The Prosperity, a civilian mining vessel. 47 crew members. Sarah's hands gripped her command chair. What's happening? The Xanthari are ordering them to stop. The Prosperity is refusing. They're running. Sarah pulled up the visual feed. She saw the small mining ship, barely armed, trying desperately to reach open space. Behind it, a Xanthari warship powered up its weapons. They're going to fire, Park said. Sarah had to make a choice. Maintain stealth and let civilians die, or reveal the Cerberus and potentially start a war that could destroy humanity. She thought about Earth, about freedom, about everything humanity had built. She made her choice. All hands, battle stations, drop stealth protocols, power up all weapon systems. She paused, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. We're going in. Captain, if we reveal ourselves, I know what it means, Commander. Do it anyway. Throughout the Cerberus, alarms blared. Stealth systems shut down. Power flowed to weapons, shields, and engines. The massive Dreadnought, invisible for so long, began to appear. Sarah opened a channel to the Xanthari warship. Her voice was ice. This is Captain Sarah Volkov of the United Nations starship Cerberus. You will cease fire immediately and withdraw from that civilian vessel. This is your only warning. The Xanthari warship did not respond. Their weapons continued to charge. Sarah's eyes narrowed. So be it. Target their weapons. Fire. The Xanthari warship commander, Fleet Leader Kresh, had been having a good day. The humans were exactly as expected. Weak, frightened, easy to control. His ships had surrounded their pathetic colonies without resistance. Now this little mining vessel thought it could escape. He would teach them the price of disobedience. Weapons charged, his tactical officer reported. Ready to fire on the human vessel. Target their engines, Kresh ordered. Cripple them, but keep the crew alive. They will serve as an example to the others. Yes, Fleet Leader. Kresh watched the mining ship on his display. It was running at full speed, desperate and stupid. There was nowhere to run. His warship was 3 times faster and 100 times more powerful. Then his sensor officer screamed, Fleet Leader. Unknown contact. Massive energy signature directly ahead. It just appeared from nowhere. Kresh spun to look at the main display. His blood turned to ice. A ship had materialized between his warship and the fleeing mining vessel. But calling it a ship was like calling a star a candle. This thing was enormous. His warship was 400 meters long. This monster was over 2,000 meters. It looked like someone had taken a mountain and taught it to fly. The hull was dark, almost black, covered in angular armor plating that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Weapon ports lined every surface. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. The ship bristled with railguns, missile tubes, laser batteries, and weapons Kresh could not even identify. "Where did it come from?" he shouted. "Why didn't we detect it?" "I don't know, Fleet Leader. It wasn't there a second ago. Our sensors show nothing, but our eyes see it. It's impossible." Then a voice came over the communication channel. Human. Female. Cold enough to freeze stars. "This is Captain Sarah Volkov of the United Nations starship Cerberus. You will cease fire immediately and withdraw from that civilian vessel. This is your only warning." Kresh felt fear crawl up his spine. But he was Zenthari. He commanded 12 warships. This was one human vessel, no matter how large. "This is Fleet Leader Kresh of the Zenthari Accord. You are interfering with official Accord business. Stand down or face destruction." The massive ship did not move, did not respond. Kresh made his decision. He would show these humans what happened when they challenged the Accord. All ships target that vessel. Fire at will. 12 Zenthari warships opened fire at once. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and antimatter missiles streaked through space toward the Cerberus. The human Dreadnought's shields flared bright blue as the weapons struck. For a moment, Kresh felt hope. But the shields held, not weakened, not flickering. They held as if the attack had been nothing more than rain on stone. Then the Cerberus fired back. Sarah sat in her command chair and watched the Zenthari weapons splash harmlessly against her shields. The Cerberus had been built for one purpose: to survive anything and destroy everything. Shields at 98%, her tactical officer reported. "No damage. Return fire. Target their weapons and engines. I want them disabled, not destroyed." "Not yet." "Yes, Captain." The Cerberus had been silent for so long. Now it spoke with thunder. Railgun batteries opened up first. Solid tungsten rods, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, punched through Zenthari shields like they were paper. 3 warships lost their weapon systems in the first salvo. Explosions bloomed across their hulls. The Zenthari tried to return fire, but point defense lasers intercepted every missile. Every plasma bolt was deflected by overlapping shield geometries. The Cerberus was not just a ship. It was a fortress that moved through space. "Deploy electromagnetic pulse," Sarah ordered. A wave of invisible energy pulsed out from the Cerberus. 3 Zenthari warships went dark instantly, their systems overloaded. Their crews stranded in dead ships floating helpless. "Target the flagship," Sarah said. "Demonstrate our full capabilities." The tactical officer grinned. "With pleasure, Captain." Every weapon on the Cerberus's forward section fired at once: railguns, particle beams, plasma cannons, missiles with warheads that could crack asteroids. All of it focused on Kresh's warship. The Zenthari flagship's shields collapsed in seconds. Armor plating melted under the assault. The ship began to spin, trailing atmosphere and debris. 8 minutes. That's how long the battle lasted. 8 minutes from first shot to last. When it was over, 4 Zenthari warships were destroyed. 5 were crippled and drifting. 3 were running away at maximum speed, their crews too terrified to look back. Kresh floated in the wreckage of his command deck. Emergency lights flickered. Bodies drifted in zero gravity. He had lost to a single human ship. His communication system crackled to life. The human captain's voice returned. "Fleet Leader Kresh, you will transmit the following message to all Zenthari forces in human space. You have 1 hour to leave our system. Any ship that remains will be destroyed. There will be no second warning." Kresh wanted to refuse, wanted to call for reinforcements, but he looked at his shattered fleet and knew the truth. They could call 100 ships. It wouldn't matter. This human dreadnought would destroy them all. "Understood," he whispered. Sarah watched the Zenthari fleet limp away. Around her, the bridge crew was silent. They had just changed human history. First contact had turned to first war, and they had won. "Captain," Commander Park said quietly, "we're receiving transmissions from all over the system. Every Zenthari ship is leaving. They're running. Good. Let them run. Let them tell everyone what happened here." "What about the other dreadnoughts? Should we reveal them too?" Sarah smiled. "Yes. It's time the galaxy knew the truth." All across the solar system, stealth fields dropped. One by one, massive warships appeared from nothing. Near Earth, around Mars, guarding the asteroid belt. 14 dreadnoughts total. Each one as powerful as the Cerberus. Each one had been waiting, watching, invisible, and behind them, Hundreds of smaller warships decloaked. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers. An entire fleet that the Zenthari had never known existed. On the harmonious tide, High Diplomat Ven watched his displays in horror. The humans had never been weak. They had been waiting, testing, watching to see what kind of species the Zenthari really were. And now they knew. His communication panel lit up. Ambassador Chen's face appeared. The human was no longer afraid, no longer uncertain. High Diplomat Ven, let me explain something about humans. We don't like bullies. We don't trust people who smile while preparing knives. When we met you, we hoped for friendship. We prepared for war. Turns out our preparation was necessary. You lied to us, Ven said weakly. You hid your strength. We were careful, Chen corrected. There's a difference. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to release our ship. You're going to leave our space. And you're going to go back to your Accord and tell them that humanity is not interested in protection. The Accord will not accept this. We are a federation of 7 species. We will return with overwhelming force. Chen leaned forward. Let me save you some time. We've been watching your Accord for 3 years. We've mapped your territories. We know your fleet strength. You have maybe 200 warships total, spread across a dozen systems. We just showed you 15 dreadnoughts. We have 30 more under construction. By your math, can you afford to fight us? Ven said nothing. That's what I thought, Chen continued. Here's the deal. Leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. Try to threaten us again, and we'll start liberating your protected species. I don't think they'll fight very hard to stay enslaved. Ven's colors shifted to shades Chen had never seen. Fear, maybe, or shame. I will convey your message, Ven said finally. The communication ended. Chen allowed himself a small smile. Behind him, Lieutenant Kim was grinning. Sir, the Zenthari are powering up our ship. We're getting engine control back. Excellent. Plot a course back to Earth. I think the President is going to want a full report. What do we tell her? Chen thought about it. Tell her that humanity passed its first test. The galaxy tried to make us kneel. We chose to stand instead. On the Cerberus, Sarah watched the last Zenthari ship leave human space. The mining vessel Prosperity was safe. Its crew was alive. Earth was free, Captain, Park said. Message from Earth Command. They're asking for a status report. Sarah leaned back in her command chair. Tell them the situation is under control. First contact was peaceful until it wasn't. But we handled it. She paused, looking out at the stars. And tell them to get ready. The galaxy just learned that humanity doesn't surrender. That's going to change everything. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On the Zenthari homeworld, the High Council gathered an emergency session. 7 members representing 7 species. Though everyone knew only the Zenthari really mattered. The others were advisors at best, decorations at worst. Supreme Counselor Thane stood at the center of the chamber. His colors were dark, almost black, the color of rage. Explain to me, he said slowly, how a single human warship destroyed 4 of our vessels and crippled 5 more. Explain to me how an entire fleet we knew nothing about simply appeared from nowhere. Fleet Commander Vess, who had replaced the disgraced Kresh, kept his head low. Supreme Counselor, the humans possess stealth technology far beyond anything we've encountered. Their ship was undetectable until it chose to reveal itself. And their weapons should not matter. We have shields, armor. We are the Zenthari Accord. With respect, Supreme Counselor, their weapons are decades ahead of our projections. They use kinetic weapons at relativistic speeds, electromagnetic pulses that bypass standard shielding, particle beams that— Enough! Thane slammed all 4 hands on the table. What I want to know is why our intelligence failed so completely. We watched them for months. We counted their ships. How did we miss 15 dreadnoughts? A small voice spoke from the corner. Counselor Mira, one of the protected species. Perhaps because we saw what we wanted to see. We assumed they were weak because it suited us. Thane's colors shifted to red. Dangerous. You forget your place, Counselor. Do I? Mira stood up. Something in her had changed. We've all seen the recordings from the battle. Every species in the Accord has seen them. The humans didn't just defeat our fleet. They humiliated it. And now everyone is asking questions. What questions? If the humans could hide their true strength so easily, what else have we been wrong about? How many other species have we forced into protection who could have stood on their own? How many could have been allies instead of subjects? The chamber fell silent. It was a question no one had dared ask before. On the protected world of Ventar, the same recordings played on every screen. The massive human dreadnought appearing from nothing, the swift, brutal defeat of the Zenthari fleet, the revelation of dozens more human warships. Ventar had been under Zenthari protection for 50 years. 50 years of following orders, 50 years of watching their weapons destroyed, their colonies controlled, their choices made for them. Prime Minister Kellen watched the recording for the 10th time. Each time he felt something grow inside him, something dangerous and wonderful, hope. "Call the cabinet," he told his aide. "All of them. Tell them it's time we discussed our future, sir. The Zenthari won't allow—" "The Zenthari," Kellen interrupted, "just got their fleet destroyed by a species they underestimated. Maybe it's time we reminded them that we're stronger than they think, too." The aide's eyes went wide. Then slowly, carefully, she smiled. On Earth, President Martinez stood in front of the United Nations Assembly. Every nation was represented. Every eye was on her. 3 weeks ago, we made first contact with an alien civilization. We hoped for friendship. We prepared for war. As it turns out, we needed both. She pulled up the holographic display showing the battle near Jupiter. The Zenthari Accord tried to force us into submission. They thought we were weak. They were wrong. Because of the courage of Captain Sarah Volkov and the crew of the Cerberus, because of Ambassador Chen's diplomatic efforts, and because of decades of preparation by our military, humanity remains free. Applause erupted through the chamber. Martinez waited for it to die down. But this is just the beginning. The galaxy knows about us now. We've made enemies, but we may have also made friends. 5 species within the Zenthari Accord have contacted us privately. They want to discuss independence. They want to know if we'll support them. General Hammond stood up. "Madam President, we need to be careful. Supporting rebellion against the Zenthari could lead to a wider war." "It could," Martinez agreed. "But standing by while other species suffer the same threats we faced would make us no better than the Zenthari. We have to decide what kind of galactic power we want to be." Ambassador Chen raised his hand. "If I may, Madam President, I spent days with the Zenthari. I saw how they operate. They're bullies. They only understand strength. If we show weakness now, if we back down, they'll come back. Maybe not this year and next year, but they'll come back. And next time they'll be prepared. So what do you suggest?" "We support the independence movements. We share some of our defensive technology with species who want to protect themselves. We build a coalition of free species who won't bow to the Zenthari. We turn their protected species into our allies." "That's a dangerous game," someone said. Chen smiled. "So is existing in this galaxy. At least this way, we're playing to win." On the Cerberus, Sarah stood in front of her crew, 200 men and women who had helped her change history. They deserve to know what came next. "I won't lie to you," she said. "What we did has consequences. The Zenthari won't forget this. Other species will either fear us or respect us or both. We've painted a target on Earth's back." She paused, looking at each face. "But we've also sent a message. Humanity doesn't surrender. We don't kneel. When someone threatens our freedom, we fight. And when we fight, we win." Commander Park stepped forward. "Captain, we're receiving a lot of communications from other species. Some are threatening us, but some are thanking us. There's a message here from something called the Terran Alliance. 3 species who want to form a defensive pact with us. Already? The battle was 2 days ago. Apparently they've been waiting for someone to stand up to the Zenthari. We just proved it's possible." Sarah felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders. They weren't just a warship anymore. They were a symbol. "Send the message to Earth Command. This is above my pay grade. But log this moment, Commander. I think history is about to get very interesting." Back on the Zenthari homeworld, Supreme Counselor Thane called a private meeting with his military advisors. "No protected species. No witnesses. Give me options," he demanded. Fleet Commander Vess pulled up tactical displays. "We could mass our fleet and strike Earth directly. 200 warships against their estimated 45. We would take losses, but we would win. Estimated 45. That's the same intelligence that told us they had 30 patrol ships. What if they have 100 dreadnoughts? 200? Then we negotiate." Thane's colors went pale. "Negotiate? We are the Zenthari Accord. We don't negotiate with species who defy us." "Supreme Counselor," Vess said carefully, "we need to face reality. The humans are a military power, a significant one. We have three choices: fight a war we might lose, negotiate a peace, or leave them alone and hope they leave us alone. And what about our protected species? If we show weakness, they'll all rebel. Perhaps Counselor Mira said from the doorway. No one had heard her enter. Or perhaps we could stop calling them protected and start calling them allies. Give them back their autonomy, their weapons, their choice. That would mean the end of the Accord as we know it. Maybe the Accord as we know it needs to end. The humans showed us something important. Fear only works until someone refuses to be afraid. The humans refused. Now others will too. We can fight that or we can adapt. Thane stared at her. Then slowly his colors shifted. Not to rage, to something else. Resignation, maybe. Or the first hints of wisdom. You're suggesting we reinvent ourselves? I'm suggesting we survive. Because if we don't change, the humans will change us. And that will be much more painful. The chamber fell silent as they all considered the truth of her words. 3 weeks after the battle, Ambassador Chen stood on the observation deck of the new embassy station. Earth had built it in neutral space, halfway between human and Xanthari territory. A Xanthari shuttle was approaching. High Diplomat Ven was coming to negotiate. Not to demand. Not to threaten. To negotiate. Lieutenant Kim stood beside Chen. Do you think they'll accept our terms? They don't have much choice. 3 of their protected species have already declared independence. 2 more are considering it. The Accord is fracturing, and we're responsible. Chen nodded. Yes, we broke their system. Now we have to help build something better. The shuttle docked. Ven emerged, looking smaller somehow. Less confident. Ambassador Chen. High Diplomat Ven. Welcome. They walked to the negotiation chamber together. No guards, no threats. Just 2 diplomats trying to prevent a war. Your species has changed everything, Ven said quietly. We refuse to be controlled, that's all. No. You showed everyone that the Xanthari can be beaten. That protection is just another word for surrender. Now the galaxy is burning with rebellion. Chen stopped walking. Then maybe the galaxy needed to burn. Maybe freedom is worth fighting for. Ven's colors shifted. Perhaps we forgot that along the way. They entered the chamber. The negotiations would take weeks, maybe months. But Chen felt hope for the first time since first contact. Humanity had passed its test. Now came the harder part, helping others pass theirs. 6 months had passed since the battle near Jupiter. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Ambassador Chen stood in the new council chamber on Unity Station. The station hung in neutral space, a joint project of 8 different species. 5 former Xanthari protected species, 2 independent powers who had watched from the sidelines, and humanity. The chamber was designed to hold representatives from all member species. Today was the first official meeting of what they were calling the Free Species Coalition. Chen took his seat at the human delegation table. Beside him sat Captain Sarah Volkov. Earth Command had promoted her to Admiral and given her command of the entire stealth fleet. She still looked uncomfortable in her dress uniform. You should be out there on your ship, Chen said quietly. Sarah smiled slightly. I'd rather be anywhere else. But apparently I'm a symbol now. Can't escape that, none of us can. We changed history. Across the chamber, High Diplomat Ven sat at the Xanthari table. He looked older now. The last 6 months had not been kind to him. 3 species had left the Accord entirely. 2 remained but demanded and received full autonomy. The Xanthari were no longer the dominant power they once were. The meeting began with introductions. Prime Minister Kellen of Ventar spoke first. 6 months ago, my people were under Xanthari protection. We had no military, no freedom to make our own choices. We had accepted this as the price of peace. He paused, looking directly at Chen. Then humanity showed us that peace without freedom is just slavery with better marketing. Quiet laughter rippled through the chamber. Today, Ventar is free again. Our shipyards are rebuilding our fleet. Our people are choosing their own future. We owe that to the humans who refuse to surrender. Other representatives spoke. Each told similar stories. Species who had been bullied into submission, who had given up their weapons, their autonomy, their pride. All of them were rebuilding now. Finally, Ven stood up. The chamber fell silent. I speak for the Xanthari Accord, he began. What remains of it? His colors shifted, showing shame. My people made a terrible mistake. We believed that power gave us the right to control others. We called it protection, but the humans were right to call it slavery. He looked directly at Chen. Ambassador Chen once asked me what would happen if humanity refused our protection. I told him they would face isolation and economic hardship. Perhaps worse. I was wrong. Humanity faced us down with courage and strength. They could have destroyed our fleet entirely. They chose not to. They could have supported violent rebellion across our territory. They chose diplomacy instead. Ven's colors shifted again. Respect, Chen had learned to recognize. The Xanthari Accord is being rebuilt. No more protected species, no more forced submission. We will offer trade, technology, and genuine assistance to those who want it. And we will defend ourselves, but we will not impose ourselves on others. Pretty words, someone muttered from the Ventar delegation. How do we know you mean them? Ven reached into his robes and pulled out a data crystal. This contains complete plans for our shield technology, our FTL drives, and our manufacturing processes. We're sharing it with every species in this coalition, free of charge. Consider it payment for decades of arrogance. Shocked silence filled the chamber. Then slowly applause began. First from the Venator, then from others. Even some humans clapped. Chen stood up. The Free Species Coalition accepts your offering, High Diplomat Ven. We also accept your petition to join this coalition as an equal member. Equal? Ven looked surprised. Equal. No protected species. No dominant powers. Just partners working together. That's what we're building here. The vote was unanimous. The Xanthari Accord joined the coalition they had once tried to destroy. After the meeting, Chen and Sarah stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Ships from a dozen species moved through space nearby. Cargo vessels, passenger ships, warships flying in mixed formation, humans and Xanthari, Ventar and others, all working together. Do you think it will last? Sarah asked. The coalition? Maybe, maybe not. But we've proven something important. Species can stand together against bullies. They don't have to submit or fight alone. What about us? Earth, I mean. We're the most powerful military in the coalition now. How long before someone accuses us of being the new Xanthari? Chen considered that. The difference is we're not trying to control anyone. We're trying to help them control themselves. As long as we remember that, we'll be fine. And if we forget, then you take your ships and remind us. That's why we need people like you, Sarah. People who fight for freedom, not power. Sarah nodded slowly. I can do that. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Chen's communicator buzzed. It was Lieutenant Kim. Sir, you need to see this. We just received a transmission from the far side of the galaxy. A species called the Torvak Empire. They're asking for help. Help with what? They're being threatened by something called the Kryn Swarm. Aggressive, expansionist, very powerful. The Torvak saw our broadcasts about the battle with the Xanthari. They want to know if the Free Species Coalition will help them. Chen felt a chill run down his spine. How powerful is this Kryn Swarm? Unknown. But the Torvak are terrified. They're offering us significant territory and resources if we'll help defend them. Sarah was already pulling up tactical displays on her wrist computer. If they're serious, we'll need more ships. The stealth fleet alone won't be enough. Then we bring the coalition together. This is exactly what we formed it for. To help species who can't defend themselves alone. Chen looked out at the stars again. So much darkness. So many threats. But also so much possibility. Kim, tell the Torvak we're sending a delegation. And put the fleet on standby. If this Kryn Swarm is as dangerous as they say, we need to be ready. Yes, sir. The transmission ended. Sarah looked at Chen with a slight smile. You know what this means, right? We're not just Earth's representatives anymore. We're galactic peacekeepers, I know. Terrifying, isn't it? Absolutely. So what do we do? Chen thought about everything that had happened. The Xanthari's arrogance, the battle, the coalition, humanity's refusal to surrender. We do what humans always do. We face the unknown with courage. We help those who need it. We fight when we have to. And we never ever give up our freedom or anyone else's. Sarah nodded. That I can work with. 3 weeks later, a fleet assembled at Unity Station. 40 ships from 6 different species. Humans provided the backbone. 12 dreadnoughts, including the Cerberus. The Xanthari contributed advanced cruisers. The Ventar sent their newly rebuilt destroyers. Others added what they could. Admiral Sarah Volkov stood on the bridge of the Cerberus once more. Her ship was no longer alone. Dozens of Allied vessels surrounded her, all of them ready to face a new threat together. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Commander Park said. "Then let's show this Kryn swarm what the Free Species Coalition can do. Engage FTL drives. Course for Torvak space." The fleet jumped as one. Humanity's first major fleet operation with alien allies. It wouldn't be the last. On Unity Station, Ambassador Chen watched them go. He thought about where humanity had been 6 months ago. Unknown, isolated, prepared for the worst. Now they were leaders in a galactic coalition. They had turned enemies into allies. They had rebuilt the power structure of their corner of the galaxy, all because one captain refused to let civilians die. All because humanity refused to surrender. Kim stood beside him. "Do you think they'll win? Against the Kryn? I don't know. But I know they'll fight together. That's worth something. What do we do now?" Chen pulled up his schedule. More negotiations, more species asking to join the coalition, more threats to assess, more opportunities to build peace. "We keep working. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Kim. But it's less dangerous when free species stand together. That's what we're building here. Not an empire, not a protection racket. A real alliance of equals. That's ambitious. Humanity has always been ambitious. It's why we survived First Contact. It's why we'll survive whatever comes next." 2 years later, the Free Species Coalition had grown to 23 member species. The Kryn swarm had been repelled at the Battle of Torvak Prime. 3 more aggressive empires had been deterred by the coalition's combined strength. And at the center of it all was humanity. Not as conquerors, not as protectors. As partners who had shown the galaxy a different way. Captain Sarah Volkov, now Fleet Admiral, stood on the observation deck of the Cerberus. Her ship had fought in 8 battles over the past 2 years. Each time they had won. Each time they had fought for freedom. A young ensign approached her nervously, fresh from the academy, probably his first assignment. "Admiral Volkov, I'm Ensign Marcus Chen. Ambassador Chen is my uncle. I just wanted to say it's an honor to serve under you." Sarah smiled. "The honor is mine, Ensign. Your uncle and I changed the galaxy together. Now it's your generation's turn to keep it free. I won't let you down, Admiral. I know you won't. None of us will. That's what makes us human." She looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, new species were discovering space travel. New civilizations were making first contact. New threats were emerging. But humanity was ready. They had been tested. They had proven themselves. They had shown the galaxy that peace was possible, but only for those strong enough to defend it. First contact had been peaceful, until the human Dreadnought broke stealth. That moment had changed everything, and Sarah Volkov wouldn't change a thing.